Okay, so in this video, we're going to be looking at the incline dumbbell press or incline dumbbell chest press, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be looking at what to do and what not to do, and the muscles that are going to be targeted, and how it can be really effective with getting the most out of this movement. I've popped the bench at around about a 45-degree angle, just to kind of be in the middle of what we're looking to achieve in terms of chest involvement as well as shoulder involvement too. Any lower on the incline, let's say 30% or 20% incline, is going to have us targeting more chest. And then if we're more vertical, we're going to be aiming for more of your front deltoid and all across your shoulder as well, as to the point where if we're completely vertical here and pushing, we're going to be doing a shoulder press instead of a chest press. Vice versa, if it's a flat bench, it's a chest press. Okay, so first things first is making sure you're choosing weight that is appropriate for the targeted rep range in your program. And initially, we're going to start by lifting up. Dumbbells are going to be resting in the midline of our quads, okay? And then from this position, we want to make sure when we first start off with the set itself, what a lot of people do is they will sit back straight away and then they're here and then they'll rest for a moment and then they'll push up. But the problem with this is that when you're in this position, your chest is already being stretched. So you're feeling that stretch in your pecs and you're already fatiguing the muscle at this point. So how do we combat this? Because we want to make sure we're getting the most out of the reps that we can achieve, where we're already fatiguing the muscle before we've even started. So first thing you actually want to do is get straight up into a stacked position, okay? So you can either use your knees to kick up, or you can just bring back into position, but just push straight up to the top. In this position, we've got our hands, our wrists, elbows and shoulders are completely stacked, and I can stay here all day and I'm not fatiguing the muscle whatsoever as well. Okay, so this is your starting position. From here, the second point you want to do is just get your feet fixed. A lot of people flare out the feet too far wide or too far forward, and this creates instability in the movement. But to create the most stability, we want to make sure our hands, or our feet should I say, are completely tucked at least a 90-degree angle underneath our knees, okay? And also make sure that your feet are completely flat, because a lot of people end up doing this or doing this, and their feet and the heels are kind of just out of whack and not really in the best possible setup position for you to get the most out of that set. So first thing is straight up, okay? Second thing, feet nice and flat, get a steady base of support. Third point, what I'd say from here is to lift your chest up. So a lot of people have a very flat chest or flat spine. You want to create as much of a natural arch in your spine, but lift that chest up into position and lock your shoulders back into the bench. From here, we're going to take a deep breath in. And what not to do first is when you're descending, don't flare out here. Okay, a lot of people flare out too wide and their elbows are around about a 90-degree angle. Okay, you can put a lot of stress on your shoulders when you're doing this. So to protect your shoulders and to get the most out of your chest, we're going to lower it into a 45-degree angle from the torso, under control as well. So your elbows should finish here, drive back to the top. And we want to control for the stated tempo, so maybe you might have a 3-1-1-1 tempo in your program. That means ultimately 3 seconds down, 1, 2, 3, 1 second pause, 1 second up, 1 second pause again, and then repeat. Once you finish that set, down to your thighs and sit forwards, and you can put down to the ground once you're done, okay? So that is the simple explanation of how to do your chest press. Just make sure you are moving to your full range, getting all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom, because a lot of people, if you are feeling it in your triceps as an example, you may be just lowering to this position and then doing this. But we need to always make sure every single rep is replicated the same way from the first rep to the last rep. Full range, pause, drive to the top, okay? And then once you're finished, move on. That's that. So what we are also looking for in this movement is to make sure that you're actually using your chest to push the weight back up. And I want you to think about, instead of shooting your arms forwards, shooting the dumbbells away from the body, I want you to think about when you're locked into the position in the bench, to actually be pushing yourself backwards into the bench, okay? And this is how we get full chest involvement, to push the weight rather than the hands or the shoulders doing all the work. So let's get you in here and explain a little bit more what we're looking for. Once you come up into that stacked position, get yourself flat, feet flat, tall chest, Deep breath in. You come into that same angle. And then from here, I'm going to use my shoulder blades to really push into that bench to get myself up into that position like so. Rather than being at the bottom and just throwing away, because what can happen is you lose control at the top. Your shoulders lift off the bench and protract forwards, and you're getting a lot more shoulder involvement rather than chest involvement, okay? So we need to just focus on being efficient in everything that we do. Your first few reps, let's just say you've got a set of 10 to 12 reps. Your first few reps will probably be easy, but we want to make sure we're not rushing through anything. We want to use these first reps as preparation reps. So first few reps may look like this. And what we're looking for in your last, let's say 3 reps, are reps to look a bit more like this, while still staying stable, like that. Then we've got, let's say 2 more. Make sure as you breathe in, you're exhaling here, and just try to keep symmetry as much as possible. And then your last rep should be very close to muscular and mechanical failure, where you're still in this position looking like this, but still keeping the control and still just pushing through, not giving up, getting to the top. And then once you finish, don't just drop the weight down to your chest and crash. Still control it down and then sit forwards. So make sure you're using this kind of principle for your latter reps during every movement that you do, okay? We want to make sure we are really taking ourselves close to muscular failure, as close as technically possible, without the form breaking down too. So yeah, see you in the next video.